Hi, this is Jyoti here. Welcome to Jopad Tech Guru. In today's session, I'm going to discuss regarding best practices of exception handling in C Sharp. Before starting the discussion, please support my channel by subscribing and liking the video and click on bell icon to get the notifications of my new video. Let us start the discussion. First of all, let us see the important points for the best practices. Explicitly check for all known error conditions. Add try and catch around the code if you are unsure if you were able to handle all cases. So whenever you are starting the code, it is very much necessary that you should handle the exceptions properly. Whether we are getting the exceptions or not, you have to handle them properly with the try, catch, and finally blocks. So most of the developers find it difficult to get the exception handling within the coding, and because of that there are some best practices which will help you to develop your skills concerned with exception handling. So try to check the known error conditions and add a try catch around the code if you are unsure if you were able to handle all cases. Add a try catch around the code if the .NET interface you are calling throws an exception. If you are sure about the particular error, then you can add the try and catch block. So for the known cases and the unknown cases, you can list out, and accordingly you can take the action. Add a try and catch around the code if it crosses a complexity threshold for you. So again, there are many complex issues that you may find it while you are writing the code. So do not make too much of complicated things within the code so that exception handling will become a burden. So add a try and catch around the code if for a sanity check you are asserting this should never happen. So we have to make sure that the error should not be there. That's why we are using the try catch. But do not make too much of looping within the exception handling. So there are certain rules that need to be followed while you are writing the coding. So many of the points which I am explaining you here will help you while you are handling the exceptions within your coding. So something we call it as fail fast. This is more of an exception generating guideline. For every assumption that you make and every parameter that you are getting into function, do a check to make sure that you are starting off with the right data and that the assumptions you are making are correct. Typical checks include argument not null, argument is expected range, etc. So if you are sure about the particular error, so do not make assumptions and try to catch up the right data. Check whether you are handling the right data or not. When rethrowing, preserve stack trace. This simply translates to using throw when rethrowing instead of throw new exception. So stack trace is one of the things wherein you can preserve the important data concerned with your exceptions. Alternatively, if you feel that you can add more information, then wrap the original exception as an inner exception. But if you are catching an exception only to log, then definitely use the throw statement. Throw can be used in many different ways. Simply you can give throw, or you can give throw exception, or you can, if you are aware about the different exception classes, you can throw the particular exception. Do not catch exceptions that you cannot handle. So don't worry about things like out of memory exception, because if they occur also, you can't do much of things concerned with the out of memory. Do hook global exception handlers and make sure to log as much information as possible. So try to give more importance for the global handling of exceptions. So through the exceptional handlers, you can do a lot of things. So performance should only be taken into consideration when you are analyzed the code and seen that it's causing a performance bottleneck. By default, optimize for readability and design. Ultimately, we are worried about the performance of the entire project or entire code. So make sure that performance is not getting degraded. It should not become a bottleneck. There are definitely times when empty catch blocks are required, like for example, developers using try catch to convert string to integer instead of using parseInt. So many a times it will happen that you might be using the catch blocks which are empty. So those are required as you are handling the particular issues and you don't want to raise any kind of errors or raise any kind of logs. They should be commented and reviewed to make sure that they are really needed. So the most typical example is if you expect the caller of your code to be able to handle error conditions, then create custom exceptions that detail what the unexpected situation is and provide relevant information. Otherwise, just stick to built-in exception types as much as possible. So there are concepts called as custom exceptions wherein you are creating the exceptions as per your code or as per your project. Example is suppose if you are doing some banking domain related project, so you might be maintaining a particular balance as per the bank rules are concerned. So if the particular balance reaches a standard value, then you want to throw the error. So these we call it as custom exceptions. Built-in exceptions, we are having many different kind of things like array range or out of memory, or you are having many different kind of arguments related things. So these comes under the built-in exceptions. So if you are not aware or if you don't want to handle the custom exceptions, then you can stick to built-in exceptions. So I have got a few of the examples of the particular code using try catch. So if you are doing like this, it is bad. If you are doing like this, it is good. So don't do this if you are giving simply try and catch and you are not handling anything within this. Don't do this either also, wherein you are trying something and you're not aware whether the error will occur or not, and simply you want to throw the exception. So finally block is very important as it is going to get executed whether the error is there or not. So in this code, suppose if you are going for any of the controls like grid view or list view, it may be a Windows application or web applications wherein you are giving begin update in the try and end update in the finally. So try and finally combination is perfectly valid. One try should have at least one catch. One try can have number of catches. So try catch finally is also a perfect combination. But for try catch only one finally should be there. So if an exception occurs in the following code, then the finally will be executed and the exception will be thrown. So this finally code will always get executed whether the exception occurs or not. So usually we are having some pointers that need to be closed. Those you can plan it in the finally block. Suppose you are having a button and you are clicking on the button at that time you want to show some error. So in the try block you are having the code. In the catch you are going to give the log. So you can give the exception log or you can display the log to the user. So user is aware like what exact error he is trying to do with this particular code. So then accordingly he can take the action. So few more points. Best practice is that exception handling should never hide issues. This means that try catch block should be extremely rare. You have to make sure that the code is error free. So that's why we are having try, catch, finally blocks. So wherever it is necessary for the known issues and the unknown issues, you have to take the actions accordingly. Always deal with the known exceptions as low down as you can. However, if we are expecting an exception, it is usually better practice to test for it first. Suppose parse, formatting, and arithmetic exceptions are nearly always better handled by logic checks first rather than specific try and catch. So before putting the try and catch, try to check the logic first. If the logic is working, or you can do a dry run also. If the particular code you think that it may going to lead some errors, then you can put the try and catch for the specific block of code. If you need to do something on an exception, then read through the exception. Always deal with known unknown exceptions as high up as you can. The only code that should consume an exception and not read through it should be the UI or public API. So always try to go for the unknown exceptions. So that may lead to a problem within the code, and try to read through them either using the UI or using the public APIs. So this is all about the best practices of exception handling in C Sharp. Please do subscribe and support my channel by liking the video. I'll be putting more and more videos on the C Sharp and other .NET related things. Let me know how you have felt it. Please do comment for the particular topics which I'm taking it. And please watch other videos on .NET Core, HTML, as well as C Sharp. Thank you for watching. Have a great day ahead.